They thought humans were extinct, till a single warship appeared at the edge of their empire. It didn't answer hails, didn't slow down. It just kept coming. Its hull was scarred from battles no one remembered. And its weapons were active, aimed at everything. But here's the part no one could explain. Every life form on board was already dead, except one, and that one wasn't supposed to exist. This is the story of a girl, born in a mountain of scrap, who one day would decide the fate of the entire galaxy. They called her worthless. A child left to survive in the rust and poison of the Empire's garbage worlds, no name, no family, just metal dust in her lungs and a fire in her heart. But something was hidden under all that scrap. Something the Empire had tried to bury forever. The day she found it was the day the Empire's greatest fear came true. Because it wasn't just a weapon, it was a human weapon. And now, everyone wanted her dead. The wind over the scrap fields always carried the smell of burning metal. It was sharp, bitter, and constant. The girl had grown used to it just as she had grown used to the constant ache in her stomach. Hunger was a normal part of life here. The Empire's garbage planet, officially called Viralani, was where unwanted machines and unwanted people went to rot. She was small for her age at least. That's what the other scavengers told her, but she was quick. Faster than anyone when it came to spotting valuable parts before the scavenger gangs arrived. Her thin fingers darted between twisted wires and broken plates, pulling out scraps of copper, tiny gears, and bits of circuit boards that still looked clean. She didn't have a name, not one she remembered. Some called her Scrap Rat. Others just Girl. It didn't matter. Names didn't buy food. Names didn't keep you alive. Life here was simple. Search the piles. Trade for rations. Stay out of sight when the gangs passed. The gangs had ships barely flying heaps. But still ships. And ships meant escape. She had dreamed of escape since the first time she saw one lift off. Its shadow passing over her like a promise. That day had been like any other, till she saw the light. It wasn't sunlight, it was buried deep under the mountain of broken metal, a faint pulsing glow. She froze. Things didn't glow here. Not unless they were dangerous. The smart thing would have been to turn away. But curiosity had always been her weakness. She clawed at the pile, sending cascades of junk clattering down. The glow grew brighter. Her heart beat faster. She reached in and felt something smooth, warm and heavy. She pulled it free and gasped. It was a helmet, black, seamless, alien, but not alien. The visor shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting her wide, dirt-streaked face. She didn't know it then, but this was no ordinary helmet. It was a fragment of a legend the Empire had erased from every record, a legend about a species so dangerous that the galaxy had united to destroy them. Humans, her hands trembled as she turned it over, the strange weight pressing into her palms. Somewhere inside the helmet, a faint click sounded. Then a voice. Unit offline. Searching for pilot. The girl dropped it and stumbled back, her breath sharp in her throat. She had never heard a voice like that before, deep, calm, almost alive. The helmet's visor flickered, showing flashes of battles she couldn't understand, ships burning, worlds shattering, figures in black armor standing unbroken against fire, and in all of it, humans. The glow around the helmet faded slightly, as if waiting for her to make a choice. She didn't understand it yet, but she had just uncovered the most dangerous secret in the galaxy. Above her, shadow passed across the scrap field. Engines roared. A scavenger gang skimmer slowed in the air, its light sweeping the piles. She knew they had seen the glow. She grabbed the helmet, shoved it under her ragged coat, and ran. Metal clanged under her feet as she leaped over piles and slid. Down slopes, heart hammering, a skimmer followed, closing in. She didn't look back. The girl didn't know where she was running. Only that if they caught her now, she'd never see another sunrise. Somewhere far above the poisoned skies of Varela 9. The helmet's signal had already been detected, and the one who had been searching for it was already on his way.
Yesterday,
she was just another nameless scavenger, running through mountains of rust and poison. But now, She carries something the Empire swore no one would ever see again. A black helmet, built for a soldier from a species the galaxy tried to erase. Humans, and someone out there, has just heard the helmet's call far beyond the polluted skies of Virilanine. A silent shape drifted in the darkness. It was not an Imperial ship. Its armor was scarred, its engines burned hotter than regulation limits, and its hull carried no markings except for one. A faded crest of a clenched human fist on inside. The ship's pilot opened his eyes. His systems had caught the signal while he slept, a coded pulse so old that no modern receiver should have recognized it. But his ship was not modern, it was human. It knew the call. He rose from the pilot's chair, his silhouette massive against the faint light of the console. His armor matched the signal's origin black, seamless, battle-worn. He whispered one word under his breath. Finally. Back. On Virilanine, the girl ran until her legs felt like they would break. The scavenger skimmer was faster, its light sweeping over her again and again. She ducked into a collapsed cargo hauler, the metal walls groaning above her. Inside, the air was thick with dust. She pulled the helmet out from under her coat. It was glowing brighter now, and the voice had returned. Pilot vitals. Irregular. Fear response detected. Do you require extraction? Shh. She stared at it, trembling. What are you? Before the helmet could answer, the sound of boots on metal echoed from the haulers. Entrance. The gang had found her. A man with a scar across his cheek stepped inside, flanked by two others. Hand it over, Rat, he said. His eyes gleamed in the glow of the helmet. You don't even know what you've got there. She backed away. It's mine, the scarred man smirked. Not anymore. Before they could move the ground. Beneath them shook. Deafening roar ripped through the scrap fields. Outside, the clouds above split open in a streak of fire. Something was coming down fast. The gang leader swore and turned toward the entrance. What the... The girl clutched the helmet tighter. The visor lit up with symbols she didn't understand. Then words, extraction vessel inbound. ETA, 32 seconds. A shadow slammed into the ground outside, sending shockwaves through the piles. The hauler's walls shook, dust falling like rain. A shape emerged from the fire and smoke, towering, armored. Carrying a weapon longer than she was tall, the gang froze. The helmet's voice spoke again, calm and certain. Pilot located, initiating retrieval. The figure stepped into the hauler, and for the first time, the girl saw a human. His visor reflected the glow of the helmet she held, and though his face was hidden, she felt his eyes on her, measuring, deciding. Come with me, he said. His voice was low, but it cut through the noise like steel. Behind him, the gang leader recovered enough to shout, Kill him! Didn't even turn. By the time the girl blinked, the fight was already over. Outside, the fire from the landing still burned. And above it all, the human ship waited, engines humming like a heartbeat. The girl didn't know it yet, but her life had just split into two pieces before this moment. And after. A girl from the scrap fields, a helmet from a dead species, and a soldier who should not exist. Last night, fell from the sky to save her, but they were not alone. Far above, in the heart of the Empire, alarms had begun to scream. The signal of a human warship has been found, and when the Empire sounds the red alert, it means war. The command hall of the Imperial High Fleet was silent for half a heartbeat. Then every alarm in the chamber erupted. Red lights flashed against black walls, casting the faces of officers in a bloody glow. Unregistered jump signature detected. An ensign shouted over the noise. Configuration. Gotcha's Old Earth Warcraft. The Admiral stood frozen for a moment, his eyes narrowing. That's impossible. Humans are gone. Wiped out. Sir. The ensign swallowed hard. This signal came from Virilanine, and it's moving. The Admiral turned sharply to his aide. Scramble hunter squadrons. Now, if a human ship is really there, I want its pilot's head before the day ends. Back on the planet, the human and the girl moved fast through the twisting canyons of rusted metal. His stride was relentless, his weapon slung across his shoulder, scanning every shadow. The girl clutched the helmet to her chest. "Who are you?" He didn't look back. The last person the Empire ever wanted to see again. Ahead. The ground sloped into a hidden clearing where his ship waited, sleek, black, alive with quiet power. But as they approached, a low hum began to rise from the sky. The human stopped, head tilting. His visor shifted to a combat display. Their early... From the clouds above, 3 shapes dropped like Predator's Imperial hunter craft, each bristling with weapons. Their engines screamed as they fanned out, forming a kill circle over the clearing. The girl's breath caught. "They found you." "No," he said calmly, powering up his rifle. "They found us." The first hunter dove, spitting streams of plasma. The human ship responded instantly, its shields flaring as he fired back. Bolts of white heat tore through the air, slamming into the hunter's wing. The craft spun away, smoke trailing. Like a comet's tail, the girl stumbled for cover as the other 2 swooped in. She could feel the heat of their fire, smell the burning metal. The helmet in her arms vibrated, its voice sharp now, emergency protocol enabled, linking pilot and artifact. Before she could ask what that meant, her vision blurred. Raced across the inside of her mind, too fast to read, and then she felt it, her heartbeat sinking with the humans. Every shot he fired, she knew where it would land before he pulled the trigger. Every move he made, she saw it coming like it had already happened. The last hunter exploded in a spray of light. Silence fell over the clearing, broken only by the hum of the humans. "Ship." He turned toward her, visor glowing faintly. "The Empire won't stop. We need to leave now." Above them, far in the void, the Imperial High Fleet had already set its course for VIR Ella-9, and at its center, ship called the Purge Lance, built for one purpose. To hunt humans until none remained. They ran through fire and plasma. They fought hunters in the scrap fields, and somehow, they survived. But survival comes with a price. The Empire knows, and when the Empire knows, it sends its deadliest ship, the Purge Lance. A hunter that never loses its prey. The human ship tore upward through Verelanine's thin clouds, engines screaming in the cold air. Below, the metal wasteland shrank into a blur. The girl clung to the crash seat beside him, the helmet still. In her lap, her hands shaking as the sky gave way to the black ocean of space. In the distance, faint glow marked the edge of the planet's atmosphere. Then it happened. 3 bright points blinked into existence ahead. Not stars, but ships. The human cursed under his breath. "They cut us off." Ships grew larger, sharp and predatory, moving into formation. Imperial interceptors, fast, agile, and lethal. "They'll try to cripple the engines," he said quickly, flicking switches across the control panel. "If they succeed, they'll take you alive and kill me on sight." The girl's stomach twisted. "Then we can't let them." Odd. Before she could say more, the interceptors fired. White-hot streaks of plasma screamed past, some slamming against the human shields with bone-shaking force. He jerked the controls, weaving the ship between blasts, then rolled hard to the left. The girl's vision flickered against symbols, maps, angles, until she saw exactly where the next enemy shot would come from. Without thinking, she shouted, "Above, to your right." He reacted instantly, pulling the ship into a sharp climb. The plasma bolt missed by meters. He glanced at her, his visor catching the glow of distant stars. "You're sinking again." The helmet pulsed faintly, its voice low. Pilot link strengthening. Combat efficiency increased. Another volley came, but this time the girl guided him, calling out movements before they happened. His ship became a blur of precision and speed, diving between enemy fire and answering with blasts that tore one interceptor apart in a flash of fire. The second and third ships tried to flank, but the human twisted the ship into a brutal spin, locking onto one and firing until it vanished in a cloud of molten metal. The last interceptor pulled back, disappearing into the dark. Silence filled the cabin, except for the hum of the engines. "They'll call for reinforcements," he said grimly. They'll send something worse than interceptors. He adjusted. The navigation. We're heading to the drift belt asteroid field dense enough to hide in, but dangerous enough to kill us if we make one mistake. The girl stared out at the endless black, her fingers tightening around the helmet. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, the Purge Lance was already changing course. Its captain smiled as the orders came through. Lock onto the human's trail. We end this before sunrise. The interceptors are gone. Something worse is coming. The Purge Lance. The Empire's execution blade it does not chase. It hunts. And now, the human and the scrap dump girl are running into the one place even warships fear to enter. The Drift Belt. The drift belt loomed ahead, a wall of shadow and stone drifting in slow, dangerous orbits. Jagged asteroids the size of cities floated alongside, smaller shards that spun like knives. The human's hands moved fast over the controls. Stay focused. One wrong move, and we're dust. The girl pressed herself into the seat as the first asteroid slid past, its surface scarred by old collisions. The ship's hull groaned as they squeezed between two spinning rocks, each close enough to scrape metal. Behind them, a deep, distant pulse rippled through space. The girl felt it more than heard it. She turned, saw it. The Purge Lance. It slid into the belt like a predator entering a cave sleek, long with a bow that glowed faintly red. Its massive engines slowed to match their pace, but its weapons never wavered. "They're locking onto us," the human muttered, scanning for an opening. "If they fire now, they risk hitting the asteroids. That's our only advantage." The girl's vision flickered again. She saw a narrow tunnel of spinning debris ahead, twisting and shifting. "There, go through." He looked at the impossible. "Gap then at her. That'll crush us." "No, not if we time it right." He didn't argue. The engines screamed as they dove toward the tunnel, jagged rocks spinning like blades all around them. One asteroid's shadow swallowed the ship, and light returned as they shot through, just as a huge slab of rock slammed into place behind them, sealing the path. The Purge Lance slowed, blocked by the shifting debris, but it didn't turn away. Instead, its hull began to glow, heat building as it prepared something massive. The human's eyes widened. "They're going to burn through the belt." He pushed the ship deeper into the maze, dodging ice boulders and iron cliffs. Every second felt like stolen time, the roar of distant impacts shaking the cabin. Somewhere deep inside the belt, the girl felt a strange pull, like the helmet was leading her somewhere. "Left," she whispered, "down, then right." Human followed, not knowing why, until the rocks opened into a hidden cavern lit by the cold light of a frozen moon fragment. For the moment, they were safe. But in the distance, the belt began to glow red. The Purge Lance has found a way in. And the belt is no longer safe. They thought the rocks would shield them. But now the asteroids are burning, melting, breaking apart. And when the Empire burns through an entire asteroid field just to kill you, you know you're carrying something worth more than planets. The red glow spread through the shadows of the cavern. It's growing brighter with each passing second. The frozen moon fragment crackled as the heat reached it, sending spiderweb cracks racing across its surface. The human's jaw tightened. "Oh, they're cutting a path." The girl stared at the shimmering light seeping into the gaps in the rock. "They won't stop, will they?" "No," he said, powering up the engines. "Not until they have what you're carrying, or you're dead." Outside, the asteroid maze had become a storm. Huge boulders spun free as the Purge Lance's beams sliced through stone, turning obstacles into molten shards that drifted like slow comets. The belt, once a place of cover,
was collapsing into chaos.
The human wove the ship through the shifting debris, engines straining. Each turn brought them closer to the beam's glare, but also closer to a narrow break in the wall of asteroids. Suddenly, a piece of rock the size of a small building smashed across their path. He swerved, scraping the ship's side against another asteroid, sparks trailing into the void. The girl gripped the edge of her seat, eyes fixed on the impossible gap ahead. A shockwave rolled through the belt. The Purge Lance's main cannon had fired again, sending molten rock raining in all directions. One glowing shard struck their hull, punching through a side panel with a hiss of vapor. "We've got a breach," he shouted, sealing the section before pressure loss spread. "Hold on, this is going to be close." The gap in the asteroid wall was closing. Two massive stones, each spinning on different axes, would crush anything between them. The human timed their approach, engines screaming. They shot through just as the stones slammed together behind them, the impact sending a shudder through the entire belt. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then out of the darkness ahead, 3 smaller Empire craft emerged. The Purge Lance had called for backup. They made it out of the belt, but into something far worse. 3 Imperial hunters, closing fast. Each one built to kill faster than the last. Out here, there's no cover, no shadows to hide in, only the cold, the silence, and the sound of your own breath. As you realize, you've already been locked on. The void stretched endlessly before them, black, starless, and unforgiving. The belt was behind, the Purge Lance somewhere beyond the drifting rubble. But freedom was still a distant dream. The girl leaned forward, watching the blips on the scanner. "They're spreading out," she said. He nodded grimly. "Standard. Hunt formation. One drives us to cut us off." The Imperial interceptors fanned out in a wide arc, engines flaring blue-white against the darkness. Each ship was smaller than the humans, but faster, more agile, and carrying enough firepower to tear through their hull in seconds. The human killed their main lights, letting the ship sink into the darkness. "They'll be reading our heat, so we give them too many signals to track." He dumped a cluster of decoy drones into space. Each one drifted apart, releasing a pulse of engine heat before detonating into a flare of false readings. For a moment, the hunters wavered. One peeled off to investigate, while the other 2 closed in. The girl gripped the seat as the first laser burst skimmed their shields, sending ripples across the field. "Shields at 70%, the ship's console warned. He rolled the ship hard, skimming past the lead hunter in a sudden burst of acceleration. The girl caught a glimpse of its angular frame, the Imperial crest burning red along its hull. Before it spun to pursue, another shot clipped their left wing, burning deep into the plating. "Lose them," she whispered. "I'm trying something," he muttered. His hands flew over the controls, rerouting power from the weapons to the engines. The sudden surge slammed them into their seats as the ship shot forward, skimming dangerously close to a fragment of frozen comet drifting in the dark. The first hunter followed on. That was its mistake. The human angled the ship sharply, scraping the ice just enough to send a massive chunk spinning free. It smashed into the pursuing craft, crushing its engine in a spray of molten metal. 2 hunters remained, and now they were furious. The girl's voice trembled. "They'll call the Lance, they already have," he said. "So we need to vanish before it gets here, somewhere ahead, in the endless dark." He saw a faint shimmer, not a star, not a planet. Something hidden, something only he seemed to notice. He angled the ship toward it, 2 hunters left. The Purge Lance inbound, and no safe way forward. But then he saw something in the dark. Not a star, not a ship. Something older, something the Empire had forgotten. And if he was right, it could save them both. Or kill them instantly. Shimmer ahead grew brighter as they closed in, still faint, still half hidden in the dark, but no longer a trick of the eyes. The girl frowned, leaning forward in her seat. "What is that?" The human didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened, his memories surface maps from an old war, rumors from dead pilots, fragments of a location spoken only in whispers. "It's not supposed to be here anymore," he finally said. "The Empire swore it was destroyed." Scanners glitched as they drew nearer, spitting out corrupted readings. Temperature spikes, gravitational distortions, interference that made no sense. The girl's eyes widened as the shape began to resolve in the darkness. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't a station. It was a ship no bigger than a ship, ancient, monumental, a relic from a time before the Empire. Its surface scarred from battles fought centuries ago, entire cities seemed to be built into its hull, long abandoned, floating like frozen ghosts. Towns in the void, The two remaining hunters closed in, their weapons locking onto the human ship. "They're not slowing down," she whispered. "They won't," he said, his voice low. "They're afraid of what we're heading into." And then, as if answering his thought, the massive relic stirred. Lights flickered deep within it. Structured one, then 100, then thousands, casting a cold blue glow across the void. The girl's breath caught. "Oh, it's waking up." The relic's surface split open, revealing a gaping maw of interlocking metal plates that slowly unsealed. Inside, there was only darkness. The hunters hesitated now, their scans no doubt screaming warnings. The human pushed the throttle forward. "Hold on," he said. They plunged into the opening just as the relic's plates began to close, sealing them inside, and in that moment, for the first time since they'd met, the girl wondered if she was safer with the Empire than with him.